Looking for magic cards? At flipsidegaming.com you can now use the promo code LVD to get a 10% discount on orders over $10 while supporting the channel at the same time. Hello and welcome to another episode of Friendly Friday, a weekly series where we take a look at budget, standard or modern decks, and this week we're taking a look at a red-white equipment deck in standard built around equipment and legendary creatures. So first off, let's take a look at all the creatures that are in the deck. We've got 4 copies of Sram, Senior Edificer, a 2-mana 2/2 legendary creature that says whenever we cast an aura, equipment or vehicle, we get to draw a card, so makes for a nice card advantage engine with all our equipment. We also have 4 copies of Champion of the Flame, a 2-mana 1/1 with Trample, gets +2/+2 for each aura or equipment attached to it, so makes for a nice recipient for all the cheap equipment in the deck. Then we have 3 copies of Kari, another legendary creature, 2 mana for a 1/3 with First Strike and Menace, and when she attacks we also get a 2/1 monkey creature token that's also tapped and attacking. Having First Strike and Menace means she's a great target for our equipment, and being legendary is also very relevant, as we'll see in a second. Then we get to our 3 mana creatures, where we have 3 copies of Danitha, which is a 3 mana legendary creature, 2/2 with First Strike, Vigilance and Lifelink, so another great target for equipment. And aura and equipment spells we cast cost 1 generic mana less to cast, which means some of our 1 mana equipment are even free to cast with Danitha in play, and some of our more expensive equipment also get a discount, which is nice. And then last but not least we have 3 copies of Valduk, which is a 3 mana 3/2 legendary creature that says at the beginning of combat we get to make a 3/1 red elemental creature token with Trample and Haste for each aura or equipment attached to Valduk, and those tokens get exiled at the beginning of the next end step. So another great recipient for equipment and another legendary creature. So now let's take a look at all the equipment in the deck. We have 4 copies of Honed Khopesh, which is just 1 mana to cast and 1 mana to equip, to give the equipped creature +1/+1, and the functional reprint of Honed Khopesh is Short Sword, so also just 1 mana to cast, 1 mana to equip, to give +1/+1. Next up we have 3 copies of Blackblade Reforged, 2 mana for a legendary artifact, so we can only have 1 in play at the same time, and it gives the equipped creature +1/+1 for each land we control, which is a very powerful effect. And this is the reason why we're playing all these legendaries. 3 mana to equip to a legendary creature, otherwise it's 7 mana, so that's a pretty big difference. Next up we have 2 copies of Dagger of the Worthy, 2 mana equipment, 2 mana to equip to give +2/+0 and afflict 1, so if the opponent tries to block our equipped creature, they lose 1 life. And our last equipment is Strider Harness, 3 mana to play, 1 mana to equip to give +1/+1 and haste, which is also a very relevant keyword if we're trying to top deck into a creature. And then our final piece of interaction in the deck is 4 copies of Abrade, 2 mana to deal 3 damage to a creature or destroy an artifact. And then our mana base is very straightforward, 4 copies of Inspiring Vantage, which enters the battlefield untapped if it's one of our first 3 lands, and then 4 Clifftop Retreat, which enters untapped if we control a mountain or a plains, and then 10 mountains and 6 basic plains. Then going over the sideboard, we have 2 copies of Fragmentize to deal with artifacts or enchantments, 2 copies of Magma Spray as a cheap removal spell against aggressive decks. Then we have 1 copy of Sorcerous Spyglass, which is pretty versatile, can answer Planeswalkers or Gate to the Afterlife. 2 copies of Revoke Privileges, which we're playing over a card like Thopter Arrest because it's an aura, so it's cheaper thanks to Danitha, and also draws us a card with Sram in play, and this just prevents a creature from attacking or blocking or even crewing a vehicle, which is not irrelevant. We have 1 copy of Fight with Fire, which we can bring in against control decks that might sideboard in a Lyra Dawnbringer as an answer to her, and also in the late game we might be able to get up to 9 mana, where we can kick it and deal 10 damage to the opponent's face. 3 copies of Sweltering Suns against aggressive creature decks as kind of a transformational plan. Then we have 2 copies of On Serra's Wings, which is great against the red decks, giving our enchanted creature +1/+1, flying, vigilance and lifelink, and also turning it into a legendary creature. Has a ton of synergies with our main deck. Being able to turn Champion of the Flame into a legendary creature, for example, is irrelevant with Blackblade Reforged. It also gets discounted by Danitha. We get to draw a card with Sram, and if we enchant Valduk, he also gets to generate those elemental tokens. And then last but not least, 2 copies of Siege Gang Commander, which is great against spot removal heavy decks as a 5 mana 2/2 that generates 3 goblin tokens, and we can pay 2 mana to sacrifice a goblin and deal 2 damage to any target. So that's the deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Alright, we're on the play. And this hand's okay, not great, given that we don't have actually a legendary creature in hand for the Blackblade. But it's an okay start. We have mana of both colors, a creature and equipment. So could be worse. And then any extra equipment we draw besides Blackblade and any additional creatures should all be good draws. Alright, another champion. A legendary creature would have been better for the Blackblade, but you can still do some damage here. Up against the blue-white. Ooh, there's Karizev. So we only have 2 mana cards in hand, so we only get to play one of them this turn. So we definitely need to keep Seal Away in mind, which could be an issue here. So definitely want to play a creature over the Dagger. So let's attack for 1 first. And then I think I play Champion over Karizev in case of Acid Scatter, since Karizev is pretty valuable. Even though the Champion does deal less damage than Karizev by itself. So you go. And our opponent does seal away one of the champions here. So that makes it so playing Dagger next turn and equipping is still fine. Authority of the Consuls, that's okay. Doesn't really bother me too much. Opponent could have another seal away. So I guess we could go Karizev and then Short Sword plus equip. Make sure to have an additional creature in play in case they have another seal away. And it's only 1 fewer damage Dagger as opposed to Short Sword. So opponent gains 1. I guess Authority is kind of a synergy with Seal Away, so that they can even take out Vigilance creatures. Equip Short Sword and attack for 4. And next turn we can drop 2 more equipment. Opponent cycles Illumination. And the nice thing about the equipment deck is that against sweepers like Fumigate, you don't really need to overextend as long as you have 1 or 2 creatures in play and some equipment. You have a lot of pressure without needing to overextend. Alright, opponent's got 3 mana up, so no Settled Wreckage. I think I like playing and equipping the Dagger here. And then we'll equip Karizev just to spread out the wealth a little bit. I guess we could also play Dagger and then play and equip Short Sword. I think I like equipping the Dagger here. We do deal less damage as opposed to equipping the Champion, but this is better against a potential Seal Away. And we still get in for a decent chunk of damage here. Authority is a nice one against Karizev because of the monkey token gaining our opponent 1 life when she attacks. So let's see if our opponent can hit their land drops. They can. So that's land number 4, so now Settled Wreckage is a concern. We could play Blackblade, equip Karizev, just attack with Karizev, force the opponent to use the Settled Wreckage. Don't really mind that. And if they have cast outs instead, so be it. Then next turn we'll try again with the Champion. And on the bright side, if our opponent does settle us, an extra land is nice, since then we might be able to equip Blackblade onto Champion instead for 7 mana. And it is Settled Wreckage. Opponent decided to wait to settle us after we got the monkey, so that means we got an extra land, but I guess our opponent did save 2 life. So this is fine. We now have plenty of lands in play to equip Blackblade, which is a nice side effect of Settled Wreckage. And Abrade doesn't do a whole lot for us. I guess better than equipping Blackblade here is just playing Short Sword and then equipping Dagger plus Short Sword in case they have a cast out for the Blackblade itself. This spreads out the equipment a bit better. Cancel on the Short Sword. So now we can equip Dagger, get in for 8, opponents at 1. Don't think there's a 1 mana play they can have here. Don't mind the spot. And our opponent scoops it up. Alright, on to sideboarding against blue-white's control. So Abrade is pretty bad here. We can bring in a Fight with Fire as kind of a hedge against Lyra Dawnbringer. And then I don't mind Fragmentize. And I don't mind bringing in a Siege Gang. It's not amazing against Fumigate or against Authority of the Consuls. But I don't think we want Spyglass for Teferi. Yeah, this seems okay. Alright, this hand seems okay. Does rely on Sram resolving, so an Acid Scatter could be painful. But if Sram resolves, or we draw another creature, we should be in great shape. Turn 1 tap land. Ooh, Karizev, nice. So whenever you have Sram in hand, definitely want to wait with playing your Short Swords. And I think I'm actually going to play Karizav on 2, so on 3 we can go Sram into Short Sword, draw a card right away. Opponent with turn 2 search for Azcanta. Maybe that changes our play here. Yeah, maybe resolving Sram here is fine, since next turn opponent might have cancel mana. And they won't be able to seal away Sram before we get to draw a card off of him. And you get to draw the card as soon as you cast an equipment, so even if they counter it, we still get to draw a card. So next turn we could cast both Short Sword and Blackblade. We did bring in Fragmentize as a potential answer to Azcanta before it flips. Alright, so let us lead with Short Sword, since I think Blackblade's more valuable given the hand of Karizav and Sram. Draw a card. Opponent Supreme wills our Short Sword. We will not pay for it, and then we'll cast a Blackblade and draw a card. And I'm fine attacking with Sram here, even though it does mean he's tapped in case of seal away. Need to get those out of the opponent's hand at some point. So now we have double Karizav, which means if Karizav gets countered, we're not too sad. We have a fight with fire in case our opponent does have Lyra Dawnbringer. Alright, opponent lets us untap. So let's lead with Karizav. Get syncopated for 2, that's fine. I'll attack for 2 with Sram. And then play another Karizav. Or I guess we can play the champion, since if they have a Fumigate, I would rather have another legendary for the Blackblade. Alright, so let's cast Honed Khopesh, draw a card. And now we can just spread out the wealth a little bit. Equip Sram for 3. And equip champion for 1. And I imagine they'll have a seal away for Sram here, but then we still get in for 4. Nope, our opponent takes it all, down to 5. Opponent's in big trouble here. They will get to transform Search for Azcanta. Let's see what they do with the extra mana here. Lyra Dawnbringer would be on chump block duty. So let's play the land pre-combat, so Sram gets bigger. And given that we just drew another one, I'm fine just attacking with Sram here. Opponent didn't have seal away last turn, so it's got to be cast out to kind of punish us for not attacking with the champion. And no need to equip the Honed Khopesh, I don't think. I guess I could cast out the Blackblade, in which case equipping the Honed Khopesh would have been fine. Alright, so they did have Zelda Rankage, so got rewarded for not attacking with both. I guess we could have gone on a plains there. And then second main, what do we do? Pretty close to kicking this fight with fire. I think we only want to play one creature here in case of Fumigates. So let's play a Karizav. And equip Blackblade. And say go. Opponent now does transform their Azcanta. And they scoop it up. Alright, so we managed to beat the blue-white control. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. This hand's not amazing since our first creature costs 3 mana, but in the meantime we do get to do some useful things, so I'll keep, and then hopefully we draw into another creature. Turn 1 mountain into Firebrand, so up against a red aggressive deck could be in a bit of trouble since we're pretty slow to get on the board. But if we ever draw something like a Danitha, she's gonna be great. Ooh, alright. Champion of the Flame. So next turn we could play Champion, but I would rather play Champion and equip so that the Champion doesn't die to the Firebrand, since just playing a 1/1 Firebrand's not going to work out well in the face of Fanatical Firebrand. So next turn we'll likely play a Dagger. Never mind. Opponent with Consuming Fervor, Enchanting Firebrand, so now that they're pretty all in on the Firebrand, it might be fine to play the Champion of the Flame, since the opponent's unlikely to want to use the Firebrand to kill Champion here. And they seem to be stuck on 1 mana, and if Champion survives we can play another Honed Khopesh, equip both artifacts, and then have a 7/7 Trampling Champion, which does a pretty good job of holding the fort or maybe even racing the Firebrand. And if our opponent keeps up the Firebrand as opposed to attacking, that's fine. Then we can just play Valduk next turn. Opponent does attack. Alright, I'll take it. Down to 12. They might have another removal spell for champion instead. Blazing Volley, alright, that works. Opponent with an interesting take on the mono-red deck, that's for sure. Ooh, there's a Sram. So now we can just play Sram, play Honed Khopesh, draw a card. That seems good, since next turn the Firebrand will shrink down to a 2/2, and then I'm fine just trading Sram for the Firebrand, since we'll have gotten a nice bit of value, and then next turn we can jam this Valduk, which will close out the game pretty quickly. Alright, another short sword's not bad. So Firebrand down to a 2/2. Could even just take the damage from the Firebrand, honestly. Kind of depends what our opponent does this turn. Alright, given that they didn't play any haste creatures, think I'm fine just taking 2 damage, since we will get to draw some more cards with Sram, and we would like to hit some more land drops. Alright, yeah, I think instead of playing Valduk, we'll just play another short sword, hope to draw land. Danitha's not bad. And play another one. Hope to find a land, there we go. And now we can equip. Equip again. Do they have a lightning strike? They don't. Yeah, now I think I'll play defense. Not really in a rush. And Sram should survive most removal spells our opponent has. And then next turn we can play Valduk, equip, or Danitha equip. So Fanatical Firebrand down to a 1/1, but now our opponent can just sacrifice it and deal 1 damage somewhere else. And there's Ancrop Crasher, alright. That's what we didn't want to see last turn, but they didn't have it then. So they must have drawn it for the turn, I guess. So our opponent gets in for 4. But next turn Danitha will still do a decent job of stabilizing us. So not too worried. And land here is excellent, so now we get to play Danitha and double equip. And I'm gonna leave back Sram in case of a second Ancrop Crasher. Don't really want to run any unnecessary risk. And as soon as we get to connect with Danitha once, we should be out of range. So our opponent can sacrifice Firebrand here. If they have a 3 damage burn spell, they could take out Danitha. But it looks like they're going to the face. If they have another Firebrand, they could block Danitha for a turn, sacrifice, prevent us from gaining life. And double Lightning Strike would also kill us here. So those are the cards we don't want to see from the opponent. Opponent says go. Here I think we want to play Valduk just to put an extra creature in play in case something does happen to our creature, so we can still make sure to block the Crasher. And then we can still play a Dagger for 1 mana and maybe move an equipment around. Play Dagger for 1 draw card with Sram. Find a champion, which I guess is also fine play here. But instead I think I'll play Valduk. And then opponent could have Magma Spray plus a 3 damage effect to take out Danitha here, which would make it bad to move an equipment around. So I think instead I'll move an equipment to Valduk. And then we get an extra elemental creature. Since if we get to hit for 4 with Danitha, we're fine regardless. And then just attack with these 2. Leave back Sram, and let's see if they kill Danitha here. If they don't, alright, now we should be pretty safe. Play a tapped Vantage, say go. And then next turn we can just kill our opponent in a multitude of ways. Opponent does still have 4 cards in hand, so that's a bit worrying. But at 9 life, with 3 blockers back, I think we'll be fine. Another Crasher, alright. Glad we held back as many creatures as we did, but no attacks. So let's see, what's the best way to move our equipment? Yeah, I think just gaining the most life with Danitha is probably the best course of action. Opponent does get to chump, but that's okay. And then I'm fine also attacking with Valduk at this point and Sram, as we get to play another Valduk. I guess there could have been a way to kill our opponent right now if we just put everything on Valduk instead, but either way we're not losing this one. And I guess it would have been nice to see a whole bunch of elemental tokens. Opponent double blocks, takes 8. And we'll play another Valduk and say go. Lightning Strike on Valduk. And let's attack with Danitha and move on to game 2 here. Alright, so up against the mono red deck, definitely want our Magma Sprays here. And then Sweltering Suns is a consideration. Revoke Privilege and Fight with Fire are also considerations, but we definitely want on Serra's Wings. Then what don't we want? I think our clunker equipment like Dagger can go. Can definitely shave one Valduk. A Champion of the Flame is pretty vulnerable as well, but I like keeping Summon since it's a nice combo with on Serra's Wings. And we probably don't need all 4 Srams. Try something like this. Siege Gang is also fine, but it is a 5 mana card, so we might not always get to play it. Also don't mind taking out Strider Harness, as it's pretty expensive, and shave on a Blackblade Reforged, as it's the more expensive equipment and it's pretty mana intensive to move it around against a deck with cheap spot removal. And then I don't mind bringing in Sweltering Suns, and then maybe we'll bring in a Revoke Privileges as well. So this seems fine. On the play I might be more tempted in bringing in Siege Gang Commander, but on the draw it might be a turn too slow. This hand is missing a second land, so it's a bit risky to keep this one, but it does certainly have some powerful cards if we do get the mana, but I don't think we need to take a risk. I'll go to 6, and yeah, this is much better. And the Sram is not bad, but we don't have any equipment currently, which is the main thing I'm looking for, so I think we can bottom. And then we have interaction on turn 2 and 3 with Abrade, Revoke Privileges, and then Danitha is probably going to get killed, but I guess we drew a second one, so that works. Play Mount and say go. And there's Earthshaker Kenra. Alright, let's keep up Abrade. Hope to kill an Ancrop Crasher. And then next turn we'll probably play Danitha. She's probably going to die, then we'll play another one. Hope to stabilize from there. Fanatical Firebrand, that's fine. And Consuming Fervor, targeting Firebrand. Yeah, I think we'll respond with the Braid. Get the nice 2-for-1. Opponent does get to shoot us for 1, I guess. So we'll take 2 more from the Kenra, go down to 15. And then we'll get to play Danitha. And Danitha's amazing against the mono red deck if she survives. Being able to play both offense and defense and gaining a life. And of course a first strike means she can't really be killed easily in combat. Let's see if they have a Magma Spray end of turn. They don't, so it's gonna be a Lightning Strike Abrade. Definitely don't mind if your opponent exerts Ancrop Crasher, instead it's Chandra's Pyrohelix. That works. So your opponent definitely doesn't like 1 toughness creatures. We also saw a Rending Volley in the main deck in game 1. And there's Kari's. I think we'll just play another Danitha here though. The upside if she survives is high enough that it's worth running her into another potential removal spell. And then next turn we can go Kari's plus Revoke, which is more mana efficient than the other way around. Alright, opponent did have a shock as well. So my guess is they drew the shock last turn, otherwise they would have just shocked Danitha end of turn when we cast her. Kenra keeps getting in there. Opponent says go. Think we hang on to the Revoke Privileges for now. And then if your opponent does kill Karizev, next turn we will Revoke Privileges, whichever is the largest creature your opponent has. Alright, there's Lightning Strike. Bowman Courier. That's not a bad one, so let's hope to top deck something to put in play here. Alright, Abrade's not bad, so I guess we can just Abrade the Courier, force them to sacrifice it if they want to. We'll destroy the artifact. And then we'll revoke the Kenra. Alright, say go. And we're kind of on empty here, so this is a spot where had we brought in Siege Gang Commander, that would have been pretty good here. So I think on the play, if we lose this one, we'll bring him in. On Serra's Wings wouldn't be a great top deck here, and our equipment are also pretty poor. Looks like we're drawing lands instead. At least our opponent's also not doing much. Ancrop Crasher is bad news. And I think on the play, Sweltering Suns also gets a bit worse, as opposed to on the draw, where you might be able to kill 3 creatures if our opponent curves 1 into 2 into 3. So I'll probably be swapping some number of Sweltering Suns for Siege Gang Commanders. Alright, there's a Champion of the Flame. Might as well play it. Opponent probably has some more removal left in hand though. Yep, Chandra Spiral Helix. Just deals 2 to us. And then they can exert Ancrop Crasher, get him for 3, which is reasonable that our opponent assumed we don't have anything relevant in hand since we didn't kill the Crasher last turn, and we probably just top decked the champion this turn. Insult to injury, I guess, does kind of add insult to injury here, as it wasn't really necessary. And if we somehow did have the removal spell, then opponent wouldn't have dealt any damage. On to game 3, so as I've said, I think we want to shave Sweltering Suns now for Siege Gang Commanders. I guess we could bring back in a Sram, just to have a few extra creatures and card advantage engines, and then maybe cut another Champion of the Flame. Yeah, this seems okay. Would like to be on the play, and yeah, this is more like it. Early interaction with Magma Spray, and then Siege Gang Commander is kind of the big stabilizing play, and lands to go with it. We even have an equipment. Think we'll keep up Magma Spray here on turn 1, in case of a Bowman Courier. Soulscar Mage instead. Yeah, that's probably worthy of a Magma Spray. And now I'll play the Khopesh. Could have held it in case of a Sram, but there could be a spot where we draw another 2 mana creature and 1 equip right away. Courier gets in for 1. Think we take it for now. Hold Magma Spray for potentially a bigger creature next turn, and our opponents being stuck on 1 land means they won't be sacking the Courier anytime soon. Alright, another equipment. Can probably still hold on to the Magma Spray. If they have a Kenra here, we'll Magma Spray that instead. Yep. So if we draw another land, we get to play Siege Gang, and if we draw a spell, we can probably cast it as well, so. Alright, so next turn Siege Gang, nice stabilizing play, and then the equipment also play nicely with the Goblin tokens we get. Consuming Fervor on Courier, yep, it's a ballsy play, and another one, alright. Opponent could do some serious damage now. Definitely will have to chump block the Bowman Courier. And Courier will shrink pretty rapidly here as well. But then eventually they'll get to sacrifice it for some cards, so not a bad spot for the opponent. Courier attacks. Definitely don't want to quadruple block here, since there's plenty of ways that can go wrong. But next turn we'll have plenty of mana to equip, and also use the Siege Gang's activated ability if he doesn't get lightning struck. Chandra Spiral Helix on the Siege Gang, alright. They could have taken out 2 tokens, decide to go for the Siege Gang, which makes sense. Just a land to draw, so yeah, we could be in a bit of trouble here. Did not draw exceptionally well after our opening hand. Just the 1 equipment drawn, and then just lands. So Bowman Courier shrinks down to a 3/3. Could trade off for the Goblin if they don't kill it, but then they can sacrifice Courier and draw 5 cards. And they even drew the land for the turn, which is good for them. Yeah, maybe not killing the Courier when we could, instead of the Kenra. Kind of punished us here, but it was difficult to see double Consuming Fervor. I guess we could even consider double blocking in case of a Abrade on one of the equipment. But the problem with that play is that if they then just have Lightning Strike for the Goblin, we end up throwing away Goblin for no reason. So I don't think we double block. Alright, Chandra Spiral Helix 1/1. And I imagine they'll sack the Courier now. Alright, opponent's got 5 cards in hand, but only 3 lands in play on the bright side. So time for us to top deck. Another Siege Gang is probably our best draw. Sram's okay, not amazing. Think I'm fine attacking for 3, and then playing Sram and equipping both swords. That way if our opponent does have Ankrop Crasher, they're forced to exert. Definitely have some good top decks left in our deck. Siege Gang Commander on Serra's Wings, Danitha, Valduk, Blackblade, more removal in general. So we're not out of it yet. There's a Sun-Scorched Desert, dealing us 1 damage down to 9. And our opponent, by the way, also discarded an Insult to Injury, which is relevant. So they can cast that out of the graveyard. There's Ankrop Crasher, so it gets him for 3. But it will be off our back for a turn. And the Soulscar Mage. Kari Zev the draw. So I think we just attack with Sram and then play Kari Zev double equip. Yeah, the Soulscar Mage combined with the injury in the graveyard can also be relevant here. Another Bowmet Courier. And no attacks, that's good. Probably best to move 1 equipment to Sram. That way he can still survive a Insult to Injury. I'll play the land in case of a Blackblade. But yeah, we could just be dead here. Opponent plays a land. 2 cards left in hand. Injury in the graveyard. They didn't cast Injury pre-combat, so my guess is they're not attacking. And Revoke Privileges is a great draw here. So we get to revoke the Crasher, draw a card with Sram, and Blackblade's awesome. So play Blackblade, and we can even equip. And we'll equip Kari Zev. And it's probably fine to attack with Kari Zev, force our opponent to double chump. Could die on the way back, I suppose, to Crasher plus Injury, but we do want to start attacking at some point, so might as well do it now. Could definitely die next turn if our opponent has more burn spells or removal spells in hand. Since they're not forced to chump here, they could just go to 1. Alright, let's find out if we're dead. Maybe took an unnecessary risk by attacking, since if we wait a turn, play another land, then Kari Zev is lethal by herself. Could be that our opponent forgot about their injury in the graveyard. So we can just move the Blackblade to Sram. I guess we can move the Khopesh first to play around a 3 damage effect. Then we'll move the Blackblade over to Sram. And then we'll move back. I guess it doesn't really matter since our opponent has to block all of our creatures, but it is relevant for Goblin token or Soulscar Mage. So move Khopesh to Goblin, and then move Short Sword back to Kari Zev. And then attack with everyone. Opponent's gonna have to chump block, and have 2 removal spells here. Let's see if they do. They don't. Alright, managed to beat mono red. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the play. And this hand seems okay, not great. Just a 1 creature and not the best equipment, but I'll keep. And given that we don't have a Sram in hand, I'm fine just running out the Khopesh turn 1 here. Up against Swamp, so Fatal Push a concern, but we picked up another Kari Zev as insurance. Let's see if they have the push. They usually do. Oh, this time they don't. Double Swamp. Another Honed Khopesh, so how do we want to approach this? Probably just want to equip the Khopesh, attack, see what happens. And then maybe play a Dagger second main. Alright, they did have the push, decided to wait. And then second main we get to play another Kari Zev. Alright, let's hope they don't have another removal spell. Cabal Stronghold, so mono black deck, Ether Sphere Harvester, that's fine. Alright, time to play some equipment. So in this case, playing Dagger and equipping adds the same amount of damage as opposed to playing other Khopesh, equipping both of those. Does the extra toughness matter against black? Not a ton. So yeah, I think I'll play the Dagger and equip. Opponent down to 15. And Chief of the Foundry. Alright, can Crew Harvester, and they can attack for 4 in the air. They also play Walking Ballista to Crew Harvester instead. That's interesting. Cabal Stronghold does play nicely with Walking Ballista, and they do use Lifelink to gain for life here. Alright, I guess we don't really have a ton of options here. Just gotta keep attacking. Abrade would be a nice draw. And then pretty much any of our other legendary creatures. Blackblade would be a great top deck as well, if they don't kill Karizev. Opponent does get to kill the monkey for free. Can't equip that one at instant speed. So opponent's at 14, 4 cards in hand though still is the issue. They didn't play a land last turn, so it's all spells in hand. Looks like a battle at the bridge for 5 to kill Karizev. Yeah, just enough. Alright, and now we draw Sram after we've played all the equipment. That's okay. Say go. A Karn, Scion of Urza. Yeah, that's pretty effective here. Making a giant artifact. So it looks like this one's not gonna go our way. Harvester staying on defense, opponent playing it extra safe. Do we throw Sram under the bus? Trading Sram for the constructs feels pretty bad though. I don't think we win that way. Have to keep Sram around, hope to top deck more equipment, draw more cards to get out of this. So we'll keep Sram on defense for now. Opponent makes another construct. And a Scrap Trawler. And a Crew Harvester. Opponent with a nice draw here. Yeah, we'll have to take the damage. Don't think there's a way out of this. Alright, there's Blackblade, but at this point it's too late. Opponent can just go wide. I guess we can draw a card with Sram still. Give it a shot. Just a land. And we can hit them for 12. Or play defense, maybe bluff an Abrade. Force them to attack and then get blown out. But if they just attack with everyone, I think we're dead, even with Abrade. We'll give them a Swamp, Sky Sovereign, good one to know about. Our Abrades are definitely gonna shine against our opponent. And yeah, the 5-power Harvester can get in by itself. And everyone else comes in as well. Alright, so on to game 2 against mono black artifacts. Can definitely bring in some additional copies of Fragmentize. Sorcerous Spyglass seems good as it can name both Karn and Harvester. Sweltering Suns could be okay. Not amazing if our opponent has double Inspector, then they're both 4 toughness, so that doesn't really work out. Siege Gang is okay against spot removal, like Battle at the Bridge. But yeah, I think I just like bringing in these 3 cards. What do we take out? I'll cut a Dagger and a Harness, I think. Especially if our opponent has a ton of spot removal, then the value of equipment as opposed to creatures goes down a little bit. Don't love Champion of the Flame against Fatal Push, so maybe we'll bring in like 1 Siege Gang Commander. Let's try something like this. Would like to be on the play. Alright, so this could have been a 2-drop instead. Don't think we can keep this hand. Just 2 lands, no cheap creature. Double Blackblade. Even with the 2-drop creature, this would have been a risky hand to keep. Alright, I'll keep this one, hope to scry into a land. Don't need another short sword. And yeah, definitely want to hang on to our equipment with Sram in our hand. Alright, so we could play Sram If our opponent has Fatal Push, that would be unfortunate. Alright, they didn't have the Fatal Push, that's good. And turn to Heart of Kiran, that's fine. Alright, perfect. So now we can play Danitha, and then we kind of get to do a Cheerios impression where we play a 0 mana artifact and draw a card. Alright, get to combo off here. Alright, our combo ends at 2 swords, and then we'll attack for 2. Definitely like our spot here. Got the Fragmentize for Heart of Kiran or another artifact. Got some nice creatures in play, some equipment. And definitely undid our mulligan thanks to Sram. Scrap Heap. Can crew Heart of Kiran, decides to stay on defense instead. So let's play a 2 mana Strider Harness, draw a card. Can probably just double equip Danitha, don't really have to Fragmentize yet. And Fatal Push doesn't kill Danitha here. Unless your opponent's willing to sacrifice Heart of Kiran to enable Revolt and then kill Danitha. They don't. Alright. Next turn we get to Valduk plus Strider Harness, which is not bad. There's Karn. And yeah, I don't think we want to give them Sky Sovereign. I'll give them a Swamp. A Sky Sovereign's definitely a scary card. So let's kill Heart of Kiran. And then I guess we can also champion plus equip with Harness, so still a nice use of our mana here. And then this one at Karn, this one at Karn, this one at our opponents. Scrap Heap can't block. Opponent's down to 10. Could have even considered just attacking our opponent there. And their Sky Sovereign can kill our Sram, but that's okay. Pretty sure we can kill our opponent here, but our opponent gets to crew Sky Sovereign on defense is the issue. So what if we just play Valduk and then put all the equipment onto him? Then we'll have, I guess we can only move 2 equipment, but we'll still have 2 elementals plus Valduk attacking, so that should be enough. Alright, we got there. So, on to game 3 against mono black artifacts. Yeah, I think we just run it back. Maybe we want Magma Spray for Scrap Heap Scrounger instead of an expensive Siege Gang. Nah, I think we'll try it like this. And this opening hand is missing equipment, but it does have some quality creatures. So, not an easy decision. I think given that we're on the draw, we have a few draw steps here to draw into the equipment. So I'll keep. And there's a Dagger already. So turn 2, probably playing Kari. And there's Scrap Heap. Alright. Could just play Sram and then next turn Danitha plus Khopesh. But I think I like playing Kari and then next turn Danitha. And the turn after Sram plus a bunch of equipment. Playing Sram here definitely has the highest upside. But I think we can afford to wait. Just play Kari here instead. Say go. And maybe next turn we'll just go Sram plus Khopesh instead of Danitha. Opponent is on the beatdown plan. Yeah, I think it's fine to play Sram here. I don't think we're attacking with Kari since we might want to block the Chief just to prevent 2 damage. So we'll go Sram into Khopesh. And then next turn we could go Danitha into Dagger. And there's Phyrexian Scriptures. Alright. Kind of expected that one to be in the opponent's deck, as it makes sense in a mono-black artifact-based deck. And there's not a ton we can do about it besides draw Fragmentize. So, don't have any great blocks against the Chief. So we could just double chump, but we might still draw a card with Sram first. Think we'll probably be better off just double blocking here. And then our opponent can choose which creature to kill. They'll kill Sram. And then we can just attack for a bunch of damage with Kari. Let's play a Dagger. equip. And attack for essentially 5. So our opponent gets to destroy all non-artifacts. Cabal Stronghold into another Chief. Yeah, the beatdown is real. Do have a reasonable follow-up here. If our opponent doesn't have removal for Danitha, she might be able to stabilize us. Equip Dagger. It's a 4-power Vigilance creature on defense, which can block the second Chief. Opponent gets to exile our graveyard, and a Vraska's Contempt on Danitha. Yeah, that's not good for us. So now we're probably dead, unless we can top deck another relevant card here. Just the plains. So yeah, we get to play Valduk, double equip, but that's not gonna do it. So we might just wanna keep up 2 mana to represent Abrade. Opponent plays a Scrap Trawler, so they can still get a little bit of value in case we do have the Abrade. But yeah, they're just going for it. So if we did have the Abrade, we could block here, and then Abrade the other Chief, and not even lose our Valduk, since this one would shrink down. So attacking here definitely had some risk for the opponent, but if we had Abrade, we probably would have used it earlier, so it was relatively safe for them to attack. Alright, so lost to mono black artifacts, pretty close. Definitely could have gone the other way as well. So yeah, I wanna thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this gameplay, and as always, have a nice day. I also want to thank all my patrons for supporting the channel, and you can do so yourself as well over at patreon.com/LegenVD, where you get cool rewards for supporting the channel, as well as getting us closer to our goals, where with every goal reached, we will release an additional weekly series. So if you want to see more content, Patreon is the place to go.